Time now for the clash. And the fierce public backlash over Holly Willoughby and Philip Schofield's apparent queue jumping to see the late Queen line and stage shows no sign of letting up. The privileged presenting duo were back on screen today, and while they didn't address the ongoing QueueGate scandal, eagle-eyed This Morning viewers have been speculating online that Holly appeared to have been crying. Perhaps her puffy eyes aren't a surprise, though, considering the petition to have them both sacked over QueueGate doubled overnight and now stands at almost 50,000. The petition's author, Laura Harrison, describes Holly and Phil as a toxic presenting duo while calling for them to be axed, adding that, quote, these two idiots don't deserve our time. Maybe Holly's attempt at a remorseful explanation yesterday hasn't paid off then.
None of the broadcasters and journalists there took anyone's place in the queue, and no one filed past the Queen. We, of course, respected those rules. However, we realised that it may have looked like something else, and therefore totally understand the reaction. Please know that we would never jump a queue.
That's probably got to be one of the, if not the most profound moments of my life, I think.
I couldn't agree more.
So many issues with that, though, because they said they were there filming a segment, they had no camera crew, that was just filmed on a little iPhone. A lot doesn't add up. So, with the petition gaining serious momentum, should Phil and Holly be sacked from This Morning for the QueueGate scandal? Let me know your thoughts by emailing down at gbnews.uk, tweet me at gbnews, and while you're there, go and vote in our poll. I'll bring you those results shortly, but to help you make up your mind, I'm joined by the TV firebrand Kim Woodburn, the presenter Jenny Barnett, and the comedian Francine Lewis. So, Kim Woodburn, you've had your run-ins with Philip Schofield before, but I know you're a fair woman, Kim. So, is it really right that Holly and Phil should lose their jobs over this queuing debacle?
Their self-serving publicity stunt came back to bite them on the bum, didn't it? They would have been seen passing the Queen's coffin, and they would have said on the morning show, oh, we queued for hours. I'm sorry, I do believe that. And I'm sorry they didn't. And I am appalled by them, really, because, you know, there were many people in that queue that were on television. They were queuing and queuing and queuing. And if I'd been there, I'd have queued as well. These people that think, because they are on television, that they can flout the rules and grab, it's so wrong. I'm appalled by it, really, because, you know, you saw in that queue people in wheelchairs, walking sticks, daughters helping their mothers. Susanna Reid queued for 6 or 7 hours with her mum. Why are they different? They're telling lies. They've been caught, my love. I'm appalled by them. It's so unfair what they did.
Jenny Barnett, I mean, that is a fair point from Kim, isn't it? You can actually see in that footage there they are actually walking past the folk in the queues, and yet they're telling us that they didn't queue jump, Jenny.
How do you know that they did what you're saying they did? It's as unlikely.
We saw it.
Yeah, but in front of 4 billion people, they're going to jump a queue. Why would they do that? They work within the lines of respectability. They are respectable. It's a bit like saying you saw Sue Barker doing pole dancing at Spearmint Rhino. They're not those kind of people. And I don't know why there's been such a backlash, whether it matters. A lot of people couldn't care less anyway. But why is it that people are now poking at Philip and Holly? What do they want? What's happening? What's going on behind the scenes? Is it Eamon? Is it Alison wanting to take their settee over? What's going on? Because I think attacking people in this way is awful. It's painful, it's hurtful, and 50,000 people signing a petition for 2 people to lose their jobs, I think it's awful.
Okay, well, I think there's actually a lot going on. To me, Francine Lewis, I actually think this has come down to an issue of trustworthiness and transparency. So if Holly and Phil had gone on TV on Tuesday, Francine, and they'd said, look, I hold my hands up, we did queue jump because we work in the media, we were given this opportunity, and we felt like we wanted to be part of history. We made a mistake, maybe, because you've told us that what we did was wrong. I think a lot of us would have moved on. But it's the fact, Francine, they're trying to paint an alternate universe.
I agree. I think if they just came clean in the first place, there wouldn't be so much outrage. At the end of the day, to me, this is very typical of Holly and Phil to think they have a VIP status. I do think they think they're TV royalty and a cut above the rest. I have experienced being on their show with them, and in all the years of being on TV and being guests on people's shows, I've never felt so unwelcome on a sofa. And everybody thinks that the TV darlings and Holly Willoughby is so lovely. I tell you so, they didn't greet me, they didn't say hello when I got there, and they didn't say goodbye after the show. As soon as the interview was done, they went on. That was twice that I was with them. When I was with Eamon and Ruth, I had a totally different experience. And do you know something? When I was doing Britain's Got Talent, Stephen Mulhern sat next to me and Holly, and he said, I think Francine Lewis could win this show. And do you know what she said?
What?
Really? And it was really rude. I mean, she did say, oh, thank you. No one's ever done an impression of me before. She hated it, obviously, clearly.
Okay, Jenny, you want to come in?
I do, because this is character assassination. I've known Phil forever. I've been on their show.
Well, I thought something was going on.
Yeah,
I thought something was going on, my love.
I was never treated
You're
badly.
talking You're talking
Okay, Kim, just let Jenny make her point, and then I'll come back to you, Kim, okay?
And this young lady is speaking that just so you've had this young lady, I found the same thing. They're cocky, they're self-assured, they are disliked intensely, and they should be fired, and the crew would say, yippee! So I don't know where you've been all these years, my love, but you want to talk sense, talking claptrap.
I mean, Jenny, just before you come in, Jenny, can I give you a couple of examples that I'll get you to respond to? Because, look, I worked at ITV Daytime for 10 years, so I know quite a lot about how it works behind the scenes there. And I know what Fern Britton's experiences were on that sofa. I know what Amanda Holden's experiences were on that sofa. I know what happened to lovely Eamon Holmes, where he was sort of used as part of Philip Schofield's coming out performance, and then was thrown under a bus a matter of months later. So, Jenny, a lot of people do seem to have experiences that are negative with Holly and Phil, including Kim and Francine.
Well, I haven't, and it could be that I'm an old war horse.
Oh, look at you, Jenny.
Francine, just let Jenny make her point, and then you can come in.
I do not think that public execution is healthy in a time when we should be learning how to listen and talk to each other. If they did what they did in front of 4 billion people, then they must be idiots.
Well, what do you think they did, Jenny?
I think that they did what they did. They were sent there by ITV. ITV stood behind them, and they are the mouthpiece of millions and millions of people.
Some of the ITV executives, my love, read properly, have conceded that they didn't need them there at all. They didn't send them there. They were not from the press. And there was no filming done by anybody and wasn't allowed. And that is their telling lies, Phil and Holly. And some of the ITV executives needed that. They lied as well.
Kim, let Jenny come back.
You old fool, you look like a white fool.
Kim, calm down, Kim. We're not going to get personal.
She's talking claptrap.
Okay.
Can I just please say
yes,
something?
Francine, you come in.
I'm not here to say I would like Holly and Phil sacked. That's what I'm here to say. What I am saying is that what is wrong, and what's right is right. And they are wrong in this situation. And they should apologise to the public. Instead of Holly, saying she's getting her lawyers involved and everything else. At the end of the day, what they did was disgraceful and disrespectful.
Absolutely.
David Beckham.
Absolutely disgraceful. And they've been caught. And simply saying, we're sorry.
Okay.
We got a bit big-headed. We tried it. We are Phil and Holly. They are still, well, he's saying nothing. She is still lying a way out of it. They did do it. They're totally wrong. And you know that Alice Beer, if you saw her on Thursday, she was in the crowds Alice Spear, a very well-known lady. She was interviewing all the crowd, standing with them, not attempt. Now, that, if Phil and Holly felt so strongly, they should have done that and taken those phony things that they're wearing, pretending they were in the press.
Jenny?
They lied.
Jenny?
Why do you think they would be so foolish as to do what you're suggesting they did?
Because they're not heads the size of Fort Knox. Because they've been pampered for years on television, they can do no wrong. People kiss their backsides and they
think they run ITV.
they need to go. And since they've been on holiday, other presenters have done equally and a better job. And people said they do better, they're more cheerful, they're a cocky pair, they made a shitload of money, had enough, seen enough. People don't like them, go. They made enough, they won't be poor, dear. They're a horrible pair of people. Get shut and give nice people like Alison a job. She's damn good, and so is Johnson, so is who they've done.
I think
Jenny.
I just think it's unforgivable that we are slaying these people like Marcias.
Alison, you mentioned you said Alison and Amy are looking for their jobs. Is that not being rude about those two people? Have you not slayed them by saying they shouldn't be given the job?
Kim, let Jenny respond. Kim, let Jenny respond, please. Jenny.
I'm suggesting that those two who've been sitting there for a long time with people loving them, suddenly there's a turnabout. Sorry, it's my telephone. There's a turnaround where people don't love them, that there is a hidden agenda, and you cannot accuse people the way you two are accusing them. You have no evidence.
I'm
Well,
sorry, Jenny. I just think
my love, I don't want to be rude. I'm a very polite person.
Okay, guys, you can't all speak over each other because I want to hear you all. I want to hear you all. Kim, I want to hear everyone. So, Kim, hold up, let Francine speak, and then I'll give you the final word.
I feel, Jenny, people are just seeing their true colours. This is what they are really like. Now, I would never, ever speak about a celebrity in a bad way. I would never badmouth anyone, especially to people who probably have shares in ITV. But I actually felt very passionate about this subject. Really passionate, because I felt finally people are seeing what these people are really like. What you see on TV, hello, welcome to the show. That's not what they're really like. And Kim has seen that. She was witness to being on a show, and I felt Philip was goading her the whole time, and it was very cruel and unfair.
Okay, Kim, final word to you.
But you see, I wish people, the public, would stop judging presenters by what they see on television. My love, sit with them, talk with them after, see them in the dressing rooms.
Good point. So what's your judgment? What's your judgment of me, Kim Woodburn?
20% are lovely. And
Kim?
this lady, become a presenter, sit and listen to the bullshit they give and the way they ignore everybody and think they're it.
Kim Woodburn, don't be rude. Kim Woodburn, don't be rude.
Young lady and I, we've had them and we don't like them.
Okay.
They are human, and I'll say one thing and then I'll be quiet.
Yes.
They are human beings, and you are, whether they did it or whether they didn't do it, to be this vicious about other human beings.
Well, Jenny, look, I have just spent the past 10 days, Jenny.
If that occurred to you, perhaps this is just the icing on the cake. Perhaps we have had enough of those two idiots.
Okay.
Earning millions and millions.
Kim,
and
got it.
And talking down to everybody. Perhaps we have had enough.
I've got your point, Kim.
Shut to them. They
Okay.
won't be risked.
Okay, look, I've got your point, Jenny. I was just going to make one final point, which is that I've just spent the last 10 days being grief-shamed and abused by lots of folk on the internet because I happened to lay some flowers at Buckingham Palace. So I've got thick skins. We're in the media. We all have to have thick skin. And Holly and Phil made a decision to go on national TV and I think misrepresent the situation yesterday. So I don't think anyone wants to attack anyone, but this is a situation that has angered the public. So thank you so much for having that debate.
Very disrespectful to the Queen.
Well, yes, they
I
were.
think
They
she's
were.
speaking on behalf of the public, me and Kim.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much to all of you. That was the TV firebrand Kim Woodburn, and she was certainly a firebrand tonight, wasn't she? The presenter Jenny Barnett and the comedian Francine Lewis. Whoa. Sorry about that, but you know, they were passionate. So who do you agree with? Should Phil and Holly be sacked from this morning for the QueueGate scandal? James on Twitter says, no, they shouldn't be sacked because nobody should be cancelled for stuff like this. However, I won't be watching them in the future. Their true colours have been exposed. From Dan on Twitter, I think we've got more problems than where the two glorified sofa sitters jumped in a queue on the pretext of being journalists. And Jamie says, I've voted no, but their position is untenable. This morning is all about ordinary, everyday souls. They have proven that they can't relate. Hopefully they will realise just how out of touch they are. And I think maybe that is one of the big issues here, that we used to feel like when we were watching This Morning and Holly and Phil, that we were watching a couple of friends. And now we feel like we're watching two people who think they are better than us, and maybe that's why this has resonated so much. Your verdict now win. It's pretty close, actually. But 61% of you do agree that Phil and Holly should be sacked from This Morning for QueueGate. So you're with Francine and Kim Woodburn on that. 39% of you are with Jenny and say they shouldn't. We'll discuss this later on with my superstar panel too. But also coming up, has the sectarian